So that's Hollywood's most famous portrayal of sex work, the rags to riches, on the streets to true love story told in Pretty Women. Real life sex work? Oh, it's so different. A new book, Working It, Sex Workers on the Work of Sex, details what it's really like. And the executive director of Sex Workers Action Program, or SWAP Hamilton, Jelena Vermilion, contributed to the book, and she joins us this morning. Thanks for joining us, because this book tells so many stories.
Yes, it does.
And it's stories that really need to be told, because you know, people see sex work, and first of all, let's talk about sex work. There's
Absolutely.
so many different facets to it. It's not just selling sex on the street.
No, it's not. We can have people that we can have people that provide stripping services in a club. You know, even doing sugar baby, which is usually conceived as something that isn't sex work, is sex work.
Okay, sugar baby is where you you find somebody who's going to spend a lot of money on you in return for services.
It's kind of like sex work light, or at least people like to consider it, where people are freestyling. They are courting gentlemen usually in the world, and they're trying to get through their, you know, oh, I'm going to college, I'm going to university, I need this for my tuition, I need this for my upkeep. And it's sort of speaking about the hierarchy, where there's this kind of schism.
Yeah, you call it the hierarchy, but
Yes.
it's the hierarchy.
Yeah, so
yes,
people
yeah.
who participate less in sexualized services feel like they're better than people who do. And so you have sugar babies who kind of push themselves away from full service sex workers, people who provide actual sexual services in their clientele. And it creates this attitude of derision, of ostracism, where people who aren't actually doing full service sex work feel like they're better. And unfortunately, it creates this culture of not camaraderie.
Right, and I mean, your whole group is trying to kind of bring everybody together and advocate for people, because it's people who do camera work, and a lot of people went into that during the pandemic, when
Yes.
close, you know, first person, you know, and an added danger to that.
There was over 100,000 OnlyFans accounts at the beginning of the pandemic that were actually registered as a result of the influx of work needed by people. You know, as you have increasing in austerity and poverty, the increase of rent, everything, people are going to need to seek more work, and sex work usually provides a wage higher than, you know, your average minimum wage job. So
And OnlyFans is a social media app.
OnlyFans is a website that people can...
website, okay.
Yes, so they can basically have a platform. It's a lot like Patreon, where you have like private viewers that subscribe. They pay a monetary amount to subscribe to your feed, and you can post, usually it's adult material, but some people have also made OnlyFans accounts for cooking, for niche content and things like this. But it has grown most popular as a result of the adult content on its network.
And there's a whole, you talk about the hierarchy, the hierarchy, there's like the whole, what happens in sex clubs. I had no idea that a lot of dancers have to end up paying, and sometimes go in debt for the work that they do, because you've got to tip everybody.
Yes. So because of the current legislation in Canada, sex workers aren't respected as workers, and so that does actually foster situations of exploitation for people who are wanting to act as their management, for example. It isn't to say that sex work itself is exploitative. That is not true, and that's why we seek decriminalization in Canada as part of the Canadian Alliance for Sex Work Law Reform, and the current federal case against the government right now that we're participating in as SWAP Hamilton. But what is most important is to realize that anybody who is in the sex industry, whether they are providing a sexualized service, or whether they are just dancing nude or providing some sort of sexual performance, we are all valid. And sex workers belong here, we belong in the community, and we're just so happy that this book is a kaleidoscope of perspectives of sex workers from various experiences. We have even one of my colleagues, Crystal, in the book, who is Canadian and is experienced as an Indigenous woman and the Canadian welfare child system. So we've got a lot of perspectives. And the thing that I think mostly rings true, the common denominator from all the contributors, is that we're all saying we need decriminalization as a first and vital step in order to move our work forward and to be respected as laborers in the industry, in the world. So
because you don't, you know, you don't get benefits, you don't get paid a regular wage. It's so unregulated, and in some cases so dangerous, but yet in others, like, you make it work.
Yeah, I mean, it could be dangerous, but I think the thing is that we don't sort of infantilize other people in other industries that are dangerous. We provide danger pay or risk pay to those other industries. You get a premium. And so when we're talking about protecting the rights and dignities of sex workers, we really need to start with decriminalization. And this book is really just one drop in the bucket of so many perspectives. Sex workers have been vying for their rights for decades. St. Nizier Church in France, sex workers took the church over and actually protested for days, saying that they were being discriminated against by police. They were being given fines, and how do you pay off a fine other than doing work?
Yeah.
And of course the fines were exorbitant,
Yeah.
meant to be a deterrent for doing sex work, but honestly it was just the state pimping on sex workers. So
We got about 30 seconds left. You do a lot of sex work, sex positive work.
Yes, I do.
I want to talk about your t-shirt.
Sure. So this shirt is actually by the artist Raging Fembot, and we have a website, rightsnotrescue.ca, where Swap Hamilton helps to sell amazing art. It's a sex worker art distribution where all of our art is sex work affirming and positive. So rightsnotrescue.ca. This is Raging Fembot. Check out her art, and thank you so much for having me today.
All right, Working It is out now, and we'll get the link up on our website. Jelena, thanks so much for opening our eyes.
Thank you very much, Annette. Take care.